developing over the last few hours, and it has to do with the Rastafarian students in Achimota Saga. There's been a latest twist to this, and the story is that the Attorney General and the Achimota school itself has filed an appeal against the decision of a High Court some 5 months ago for the school to admit the two students. Now, the Attorney General is back in court to contest the ruling of a High Court for the two students, Tyrone Iras Magai and Oheneba Kweku Nkrabia, to be admitted. The court ruled failure by the school to admit Tyrone Magai was a violation of his fundamental rights to education. But the Attorney General, together with the school, are challenging the decision. In appealing the case, Achimota School argues the High Court erred when it held that the rules and regulations of a school with regard to ensuring uniformity in appearance is unlawful and interferes with one's religious rights. In view of this, the school is urging the appeals court to set aside the judgment of a High Court and order the plaintiffs to comply with the school's regulations if they choose to be students of a school. Now, backing the stance, the Attorney General's Department insists the judge erred in her ruling. The AG further goes on to argue that the decision by Achimota School does not interfere with the rights to education of the boys. Let's recall some of the incidents 5 months ago when this story first broke. We recall that the North Tongue MP Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa had asked a question of the Education Minister, Dr. Yaosei Duchum, on this issue, arguing the decision by the school at the time was backward and also an infringement on the rights of the two students to education. Dr. Duchum at the time assured his ministry and the Ghana Education Service were drafting a code to ensure inclusion at all levels. He spoke in Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Education Service provides opportunity for all students to blossom and to have quality education. Mr. Speaker, I understand the argument that is raging in this country. I can understand where everyone is coming from in terms of the convictions that they have for or against the debate that we are talking about. But, Mr. Speaker, I can assure you, the Ghana Education Service, within the shortest possible time, is going to lay out specific guidelines for head of schools as to how we proceed in this environment. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you that meetings have been had, others are ongoing, the ministry facilitating to make sure that our students operate in an environment where they give up their best, not just to themselves, but to this nation. I can assure you that the ministry is not sleeping at the wheel. The ministry is on top of this and will come to a conclusion that Ghanaians will respect. But I appeal to all that let us, irrespective of our emotions about this, let us calm down and understand Achimota, that great institution, has been an institution of inclusion and has never been an institution of exclusion. And Achimota will live up to its great expectation of educating the leaders of Ghana. It will continue to do so, Mr. Speaker. So I want every Ghanaian to understand that at the end of the day, the vision of Achimota will forever live on. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So that was the Education Minister some 5 months ago when this issue broke and became such a topical subject in the country. He had made assurances that the GES and the ministry were, taking steps to chart a certain code of inclusion to deal with some of these issues. 5 months down the line, we're back at this point. But one of the parents of the Rastafarian students in the Achimota School, Ampas, says he's more focused now on the stability of his ward's education following the recent appeal by the Attorney General in Achimota School on the matter. Speaking exclusively to my colleague, George Quenin, Rasin Krabia, whose son is now at the Ghana International School on a full scholarship, revealed that the processes are underway to move the other student, Tyrone Magai, to another school.
I'm looking forward to my son settled in GIS and to have him be peaceful and quiet there and focus on his education there. Let them go to court and do what they have to do. The lawyer at YO Ghana Mante is taking care of that issue, and I think, if we need further information, we can get in touch with him. If I lost it, No, I don't think we have lost a fight. I mean, the struggle still continues. You know, the battle is still there going on, and it's not concluded. The fact that Achimota is back in there shows that it's not complete. It's still there going on, you know. And it's not a situation that I have surrendered either. At just this particular point, I'm really focusing on my son getting settled there. And we see what happens later on.
Chief Executive Officer of Empire Agri Ghana Limited, Nana Kwekwajiman, said the ego of Achimota School will be bruised again, suggesting that it should be a case study for the institution.
I think we've got it wrong, to be perfectly honest with you. I think we've got it wrong. We are not assessing the damage that this can cause psychologically to the child. We're reacting because our egos have been bruised, and it will do nothing for the school, and it will do, you know, perhaps irreparable harm to the child of the boys involved.
Let's stay a while longer on this subject, and joining us is an educationist with Africa Education World, Kofi Asare. Thank you, Kofi, for joining us here on Midday Live. Now, this is a subject that one thought was done with 5 months ago. We're back to this point. Tell us about the kind of implication the latest decision by the Attorney General, followed by the Achimota School, could have on the students themselves. Now we know one of them has already been taken away from Achimota.
The implication of the AG decision to appeal the judgment of the High Court is that it will affect the psyche of the remaining student, Iras, who is still on campus, because he knows that once there is an appeal by a government whose responsibility should first be to ensure that he enjoys his right to education as enshrined in the Constitution, he would definitely be feeling, you know, uncomfortable about the prospect of him being likely expelled or excluded from enjoying that right should the court pronounce the appeal in favor of the government. So that is a very uncomfortable situation. That is a situation we never envisaged, and we had wished that consensus would have been, you know, built on the way forward on this matter up to now. But unfortunately, that is what is going to greet the decision by the Attorney General to pursue the appeal.
And 5 months ago, we just played the clip of the Minister for Education when he was before Parliament and assured that his ministry and the Education Service were, in fact, having several meetings at the time to chart a certain code that will include many other groups in the education framework, so we do not have issues like this recurring. 5 months down the line, we're having this again. It would appear that not much has been seen on that front. Hello, Kofi.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right.
I'm aware that there's a process to develop a code of conduct which is more expansive, but that is quite tangential to the issue at stake, because this is actually an attempt to get a court to exclude someone who is presently enjoying their right to education. The code of conduct is to ensure that certain practices are, you know, captured within the regulations of the GES or not captured. Right. But this present appeal is an attempt by government, and I mean the Ministry of Education, because the Attorney General is a lawyer of the Ministry of Education. So the Ministry of Education, by extension, is actually pursuing an agenda to ensure that someone who is presently enjoying their rights to secondary education is excluded, because that person should not be allowed to manifest their religion within enjoyers of the right to education. And that is unfortunate, because the state's primary function, the state's primary objective or concern must first be to ensure that all and poor or rich, those belonging to ethnic or religious minorities or majorities, are able to enjoy their right to education without any form of discrimination. And that is why it is unfortunate.
Okay, thank you very much, Kofi Asare. He's with Africa Education World. Joining me on the other line is Wayoga Namanti. He is lawyer for one of the two Rastafarian students in this matter. Thank you for joining us. Is it the case for you and your clients whom you represent that you are going to pursue this matter further after the AG and the school decided to appeal the High Court's decision? Hello, are you Ganamanti? I'm afraid he cannot hear me. We're going to be trying to get a clearer line to him so he can explain to us whether or not he has instructions of his client to take this matter up, as the Attorney General and the school have decided to pursue this route by appealing the High Court's decision. Let's try it one more time. Ganamati, if you can hear me, I was asking if you have instructions of your client to still pursue this matter, having known where we've come to.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Thank you very much for the occasion.
Yes, I was asking if you have instructions of your client to pursue this matter any further.
Thank you very much for the occasion. Yes, we have received the notice of appeal, which is on our file, and our client is also very much aware of the latest process that has been filed. So we are very much aware of the appeal that is intended to proceed in the Court of Appeal.
And now we know that one of the students has already been taken out of the school and is now at the Ghana International School. What does it mean to the case proper and the other student who remains in Achimota?
Thank you very much. I think my client, Ward, or Hineba Kwekun has gained admission to the Ghana International School, which on your platform we will say we are so grateful for this privilege granted by all the well-wishers at the Ghana International School. But technically, where we've gotten to now is bordered on purely legal matters, because at the Court of Appeal, the party that has lost the case at the court below, the trial court, seeks to overturn the verdict at the Court of Appeal. So now it's strictly on legal matters. They will have to now come to the Court of Appeal, where we have 3 judges or justices of the Court of Appeal to now listen to their grounds of appeal. And I know as media persons, you know the grounds of appeal. Achimota says that the desire to have their rules for uniformity does not breach the fundamental right of anybody to education or religion or any of such rights. The AG is saying that such rules do not conflict with the constitutional provisions of enjoying these rights. The AG is also saying that these rules basically are in conformity with the school's proposition. So these grounds, they are advancing, and they need to come now and back all these grounds with the necessary legal parameters for the Court of Appeal to understand them and know why they must take a different view in overturning the verdict. So one of the kids leaving the school it's immaterial. It has no consequences on the legal matters that is going to outplay at the Court of Appeal.
All right, thank you very much, Wayo Ganamanti. He is lawyer for the 2 Rastafarian students who were initially denied admission into Achimota School, subsequently were admitted because of a court decision. Now we're learning the court, that's the Attorney General and the school, are appealing the court's decision. Meanwhile, Executive Director of Child Rights International, Bright Appiah, says they will go the full length to make sure that the fundamental rights of the 2 Rastafarian students will be evoked following an appeal made by the AG. In an interview with Dela Michelle, he explained that lawyers of Tyrone Magai have responded to the appeal by the AG and narrate clarity on the matter.
Sometimes find it a bit difficult to understand the position of AG in respect to the promotion of fundamental human rights of children. In matters like this, where you have a policy that makes education compulsory for children, you'd have a situation where the state is heavily investing into education, and some of these things are denying children their right to education. Then that creates a conflict in terms of what the state wants. It also gives us the opportunity to go further into the matter to look at how the court will take a position with respect to the fundamental human right of children. And if we have to go to all it to have a full understanding of what it means when we talk about the right to education and how to enforce the right of children, we will do that. So this is just for us the first step. Whatever the outcome may be, if it goes either way, I think that we also would have interest to go to the end of the matter to see to the conclusion